Hey there everyone, what's going on? I'm meteorologist Valerie Mills. Welcome into Sky Tower Weather Now. It's Wednesday afternoon, and what a difference a day makes. Monday, Tuesday, we have been talking all about the record cold temperatures that we woke up to initially on Tuesday, but again this morning. Now we take you outside to Longboat Key, back in the 70s. The warm up has kicked in today, and we are going to continue on that trend with warmer temperatures in sight, but it definitely was a cold start to the day. Let's take the graphics full. There's the big picture over in Longboat Key with just some high-based clouds in the mix. Not a ton of people braving the cooler temperatures just yet. I know we'll see the beaches packing back in with people as we get to the end of this week, and especially by this weekend, it's going to be really nice outside. But look at your morning temperatures. Another round of 20s, 30s for our northern spots, and a mix of 30s to 40s across most of the area. We did only drop down to 53 in St. Petersburg, but still that was pretty much one of the few 50s in the mix here around the area, and that did come with record cold for many spots. Brooksville, 27 degrees for you. The old record was 35, so you were well below that record set back in 1923. Lakeland, 39 for you this morning, breaking the old record of 41. Winter Haven got down to 42 degrees. Old record 39, not quite there. Tampa tying a record, and in St. Pete, 53. That breaks the old record of 55. So even as we're looking at these lows today across the area, we're talking 20 degrees below normal for the middle of November. So really some early season cold moving in for the Sunshine State. This Arctic blast has brought temperatures a little bit more similar to what we'd feel even on a cold January day. So definitely getting an early taste of those winter temperatures here in Florida. Not out there this afternoon though. Even look across our North Florida spots back into the low 70s, 70 degrees right now all across the board for the Panhandle. Jacksonville, Gainesville, Tallahassee to Panama City, Pensacola hanging in the upper 60s, Tampa, St. Pete 69 right now, Sarasota 73, West Palm, Miami, and down into the Keys all at 73 as well. So it's kind of a mixed bag of upper 60s to the mid 70s then as we head to some of our southern spots. Look at Sebring, 75 for you. Arcadia just behind at 74, and otherwise we're going to continue to keep these temperatures pretty steady. We might warm up another degree or two. I do probably expect a high at 70 in Tampa before the temperatures will start to fall. So we have another hour or so to warm things up before we start to see that sky dipping on the horizon, as we do of course have those earlier sunsets now that the clocks have fallen back. Winds much calmer than what we were dealing with. Not just the cold that came through with this Arctic air, but it was very windy, and that's what was very noticeable out there is we had that wind chill in effect all Tuesday morning, especially 20s and 30s where our feels like temperatures. But look back at this time lapse from today. Really cool shot, as you can see the sun coming up and kind of just reflecting on the colors there along the Tampa skyline, bouncing off of the Bayshore waters as well. And we started out with a lot of blue sky, and we have pretty much been enjoying that all day long. We have built in some high-based clouds, but otherwise it's really been beautiful out there to be talking about. A lot of sunshine and also much calmer on the water as well. With the windy and cold conditions, we have been dealing with pretty rough conditions for boaters. Things looking better today, and that trend continues into the weekend. Look back at the last 18 hours though. We had several hours through about 7 o'clock this morning where temperatures were sitting in the mid 40s for Tampa, breaking out into the 60s then by 10 o'clock this morning. So a quicker warm up and then boosting temperatures closer to the 70-degree mark for many Tampa Bay spots by the afternoon. You see some of the clouds in the mix as we look out around Pinellas County, but overall a pretty picture there from Bayshore Drive up into Largo, Safety Harbor, and around St. Pete Beach. Things pretty quiet there. Not a ton of people out on the sand this day. Otherwise, here's the view around Citrus County. Beautiful blue sky. Not even hardly a cloud right now as we look out in the Crystal River area, and seeing a couple of those clouds in Inverness as well as Lecanto. Look at the warm up though across the southeast. We are not the only ones feeling this temperature change from about 10 to 15 degrees from where we were at yesterday, but all up into the Tennessee Valley and the Mid-South, we are talking many spots feeling a 15 to 20 degree warm up from yesterday. that just speaking to the cold we were all dealing with. We didn't just set records here in Florida, but kind of scattered all across the deep south. We even had some snow for the Tennessee Valley and up into North Georgia spots as well. That was the earliest snow some spots have seen in decades. So cold and snow on tap to start the week, moving forward to a warm up all across the East Coast. High pressure in control for us, and you see more 70s even as we head up into Louisiana, portions of Alabama, then more so 60s across Tennessee. The big picture here is overall still more of these below average temperatures starting to hug the East Coast. We're going to move away from this colder air mass as above average temperatures are going to continue to spread further east across the central U.S., and we will definitely be feeling those changes as we get to this weekend. Temperatures back closer to seasonal for us, but other parts of the country going to be dealing with well above average heat for the middle and end of November. Otherwise, we have a front system that's just to the north of us. It's going to be kind of scooting to the north, not really trucking any impacts from that front moving through as we get to the next couple of days. But you see the trend. We're back to seasonal by this weekend. Even on Saturday, some spots right on par with average, if not about a degree warmer. And that takes us today where we still are dealing with temperatures this afternoon right around 10 degrees below our average of 80. But all of this colder air slowly pulling off to the north and east, and with that, this big warmer air mass starts to build in. We're going to have this overall ridging effect that starts to build in and pulls in a lot of this moisture from the south. So it's not just us who is going to be feeling this warmer air mass across the south. Look at how far up into some of our northern spots and bumping up into the Rockies and the mid-Atlantic that we are talking about that more mild air mass making its return. And so really as we get to the middle and kind of end of November, we are going to be talking about a lot of spots dealing with above average heat. Otherwise, a few clouds in the mix, especially further along the southern base of the state. We'll still have these cool mornings, mild afternoons. There's that weak front moving through. We will notice winds that start to come more so out of the northeast, but still going to be really tracking dry conditions, comfortable humidity, and not much wind either. So dealing with more of this northerly wind for today. We get on into the next few days and going to start to see more winds out of the northeast, especially as we get into Friday. Otherwise, let's roll through your lows for tonight. It is still going to be chilly out there, but we each and every morning start to move away from the really frigid below average temperatures. Still tracking upper 30s and 40s, low 40s mostly for Citrus, Pasco, Hernando County, right around 39 tonight for Dade City, Inverness, Brooksville, Zephyr Hills as well, Land O'Lakes, Spring Hill right around 42 for you, Homosassa calling for a low of 40 degrees tonight. 43 for Newport Richey, Hudson about 45 degrees. Tampa, you'll be in the upper 40s to around 50 degrees, and we're going to be tracking about 52 tonight for the Clearwater area. Waimama, Temple Terrace, 43 for you. Citrus Park, Lutz, a low of 42 tonight, and overall kind of this mix as we get closer to the coast. Temperatures closer to 50 degrees, if not around 52 in Largo, 56 in Gulfport, and then we mix in more so mid-40s around Oldsmar into Carrollwood, right around 43. That will also be the low in Plant City. Our southern spots getting closer to the low 50s. You see Anna Maria, 55 for you tonight. Bradenton, right at 50 degrees. Sarasota, Lakewood Ranch, a low of about 49. Northport into Mayaca City, mid-40s for your overnight lows. Looking inland now, Winter Haven, plan on around 46. That's also the low that we're looking at in the Lake Placid area. Otherwise, about 43 Wauchula. And look at the trend for tomorrow. It's going to be a really nice day on tap as we start out in about the low to mid-50s here in Tampa, building you through the afternoon where we'll overall have just abundant sunshine all day. A quick warm up, so by the late morning hours, we're already tapping in to about 70 degrees here in Tampa, warming back into the mid-70s tomorrow. So we are going to boost our highs about another 5 degrees. And there you see the winds, very, very calm in nature. We're talking about 5-mile-per-hour breezes throughout the day on Thursday. As for St. Petersburg, a similar story. We're going to start out in the upper 40s by the lunch lunch hour, topping out right in the low 70s and continuing to warm there, low to mid 70s across Pinellas County for tomorrow. Calm winds to start the day, only up to about 7 or 8 miles per hour into the afternoon as well. And humidity, just really very comfortable out there. We had that winter-like and just bone-dry air mass that moved in with the Arctic air, where we were tracking dew points into the 20s. We're going to be more so talking 30s and 40s. And as we move toward the end of the week, seeing dew points mixing back into the 50s. So even still, that is going to make for a really pleasant feel out there. Humidity stays in check through the end of the week, and we're not really going to be feeling those higher humidity levels even as we look into this weekend and start to track more warmth in the forecast. So heading to the beaches, really going to be great the next couple of days. We're not talking too hot out there, about 72 on Thursday, up to 75 for your Saturday afternoon. That's pretty nice out there. Comfortable north to northeast breezes, and overall not tracking any rain chances right on through the next couple of days. So our weather pattern is really going to hold very quiet here the next few days. And the good news is, if you didn't enjoy the cold snap, we're not tracking any more big blasts of winter weather on our way. More sticking with the status quo here, 70s to low 80s, taking you through the extended forecast. So there's a look at your highs tomorrow. 76 in Tampa, 74 St. Pete, right around 76 Winter Haven, as well as frost-proof mid-70s, all in the mix, and also much nicer on the water for the day tomorrow. We're going to be talking seas 1 foot or less, light chop on bay and inland waters. Gulf temperatures scaling back about 72 degrees is what we're seeing on our Clearwater Beach. Northeast wind tomorrow on the water, right around 5 to 10 knots. But of course, it's going to still be feeling chilly in the afternoon, and by the chilly in the morning, and then into the afternoon. If you are kind of maybe heading out on the boat, definitely won't need any of those extra layers as we quickly warm away from those below average temperatures to start the day on Thursday. High tide, that's going to be 10:21 tonight, and then our low tide in the early Thursday morning hours, we're talking 2:36 a.m. Another high tide to follow Thursday morning right after 8 o'clock in the morning. Okay, we're going to talk about what's going on in the tropics. We continue to count down. Are we expecting any more activity across the Atlantic basin? I'll have all of those details. We'll look closer at your local forecast. I've got your 7-day to come. All of that after a quick break. In the meantime, here's a look at your local forecast, and we'll see you back here in just a couple. Hey everyone, welcome back into the show. Check out this video as many across the U.S. were dazzled early this morning, really into the overnight hours, as northern lights were spotted across the sky. You can really see these solar storms really putting on a show into the early morning hours. A lot of blue, pink, green colors spotted, kind of spanning from Minnesota and Massachusetts all the way down to portions of the south. And even tonight, it does look like there's another chance for some areas to get in on the mix for some of those beautiful northern lights. That is definitely something that's a bucket list item for me. Maybe one of these days we'll be in the right place at the right time. But in the meantime, we'll just enjoy some of those really cool pictures and videos captured from some of our friends a little bit closer to the north, and where more of those solar storms and flare-ups put on those dazzling displays. Otherwise, the tropics, good news for you there. We continue to track what is going to be the end of our Atlantic hurricane season here. No anticipation for any formation really over the next week. And as we get closer and closer to closing out this hurricane season, the odds of anything trying to spin up, they're just not there. The conditions continue to move away from anything looking favorable. This is a look at our tropical cyclone outlook from the Climate Prediction Center. This runs right into just ahead of our Thanksgiving plans. You see just really pretty much nothing even highlighted for an area to watch. All this drier air starts to really take over the Caribbean. This area of increased rain, that's a spot that we have seen flagged for some very low, say 20% odds of development, but that quickly kind of moved away, and we really haven't seen anything flagged even in the Caribbean, closer to where that Central American gyre spins, and can sometimes spin up some activity later in the season. So as we look at the activity, we are just quite literally inching toward the end of the season, as on average we have about 3% of the activity left. And it's just one of those seasons. We have definitely seen seasons with November hurricanes, even in some cases storms and development that happens past the official end of the season on November 30th. That's just kind of a climate guideline. It doesn't mean that it's just an off switch. So it's really interesting that this season, a lot of low impact storms, a lot of fish storms, and then things really all coming together for the last storm of the season. That was Hurricane Melissa, and that will be one of the most notable things for this hurricane season that ended up making landfall as one of the strongest ever on record for the Atlantic basin. We really saw some incredible wind speeds with Melissa as it tapped into those warm Caribbean waters, the only storm that moved into the Caribbean all season. But we really also saw the pressure drop to one of the lowest that we have ever seen with an Atlantic basin hurricane, and that's really just a sign of how strong the storm is. The lower the pressure, the stronger the storm, and so we really see those winds go up with the strengthening storm and the pressure go down, and both of those were just in full display with a very powerful storm. That was about 2 weeks ago, and so still cleanup efforts in full swing in Jamaica. And if you can do anything to donate, I know there's a lot of need there for donations. So, it's the season of giving. You just kind of help wherever you can. Taking you now to a live look in the Chicago area. Things looking a little different from what we were seeing just a day or so ago. They were dealing with their first season snowfall, and the earliest snowfall that they have even gotten there in the city, portions of the Great Lakes as well. You see some of that dusting there still on the ground, but now that Arctic air that brought us the cold air, and also the snow that other portions of the east were dealing with, we start to move away from the worst of the weather. Though we're not completely in the clear up north, we definitely are seeing the influence of high pressure all across the south. Just look at how quiet things are around this ridge of high pressure. Yes, there are some clouds in the mix, but just not any of that moisture to allow for even a spotty shower all across the deep south. We have to go way up north. That's where the jet stream is allowing for these really active storm systems. We're really watching the northeast and the northwest. Those are the two spots where things are going to be pretty active, with some snowfall as well as rain in the forecast depending on elevations. But you see all of the temperatures starting to bump those up just a bit as well, and we're going to continue to watch for that trend into the next couple of days. But meanwhile, On the west coast, I'm going to pull up the satellite for you. I want to give you a closer picture of what we're seeing, because this is still what is ongoing snowfall for areas around PA, upstate PA, and New York as well, and up into the Montreal area, and trending more so into the northeast areas around Maine, still dealing with some ice, some snow, some rainy conditions. Let me zoom out as well and kind of shift over to the west coast. That's another spot where we are going to start to watch for an area of low pressure that's off the coast there, and that's going to start to allow for some rain, some snow in the next couple of days, and a lot of atmospheric moisture is going to start to pump up along portions of Washington into Oregon, Northern California as well, where we are looking at the potential for what could be some big snowfall for the Sierras, the Rockies, and some of our west coast spots. Otherwise, in the meantime, the temperature trend is going to continue to favor a warm up all across the country. This is a look at our morning lows this morning. A lot of spots still around the freezing mark, and then moving forward from here, we kind of will watch for that ridge of high pressure to build in from the south and allow temperatures to creep back into the 70s and 80s, and more so 40s and 50s then as we head to the northern tier of the country. But you see the sunshine all across the deep south, some clouds in the mix for sure, and then we'll continue to keep tabs on the west coast. You see the high for tomorrow in Seattle, 56, and we are going to be tracking some snow moving through portions of the northern Rockies with this ongoing low pressure system that's going to focus more active weather for the west coast, whereas meanwhile we look more so to the middle and end of November, and you just look at that big warm up all across the east, above average temperatures across Florida into Texas, and trending up into portions of Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, looking at a good probability of above normal temperatures, and that is going to be for all of the East Coast, where meanwhile temperatures will stay near, if not below average, as we get off to the western half, kind of from Colorado and the Rockies and further off to the Pacific coast there. We'll give you a quick look at what's going on elsewhere in the country, and then I've got your 7-day forecast coming up in just a few minutes. Stick with me. Hey everyone, one last look at our 10-day temperature trend, and you know what we are seeing? We are on the upward rise, my friends. We had record cold this morning as well as on Tuesday. Now we are building in a warmer air mass, and that trend takes us right on through really the middle and end of November. It does look like we are going to keep this more comfortable warming trend with us. No big cold snaps in sight, but of course we'll keep tabs on that and keep you updated. Otherwise, here's a look at the next couple of hours in the 60s by 5 and 6 o'clock. It's going to be another cool night as we drop down to the 40s and 50s for most of the area. There's a good chance even around Citrus in Hernando counties. We'll see a couple of upper 30s in the mix as we'll have light winds out of the northeast. Skies remain clear tonight, trekking a ton of sunshine for the day Thursday. Pleasant humidity, and that's going to boost temperatures back on into the 70s for many spots. We continue to enjoy more than the 70s to the end of the week, even 80s then for our weekend plans. Thanks to everyone for joining me for Sky Tower Weather Now. We'll see you back here tomorrow afternoon.